Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Adventure of the Naval Treaty.
Meet the characters.
Hello, English learners. I'm Sherlock Holmes, a detective from London. We have a puzzle to solve. Will you help me? Remember, every detail matters.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Watson. I'm not just Sherlock Holmes' close friend, but I'm also the one writing and sharing our adventures with you.
I'm Detective Forbes. I work with the police, and I'm here to find out what happened and make sure everyone follows the law.
Hi, I'm Percy Phelps. I'm really confused by everything that's happening around me. I'm trying hard to understand all the details of this strange situation.
Hello, I'm Joseph Harrison. One thing you might find interesting is that I know a lot about the place and the people around here. It's always good to know your surroundings, isn't it?
Hello, I'm Miss Harrison. I may not seem important, but Holmes used my help to trick others in solving this big puzzle.
Good day, I'm Lord Holdhurst. It's funny, I know many important people, but even that doesn't help me solve this puzzle.
It's time to start our story. Chapter 1. In July 1883, Sherlock Holmes worked on a very large case. Holmes was very well known by then. Sometimes, he worked on secret cases involving important people from the country, so I can't share all the details. But this story is different, because it was about the safety of our nation. The treaty involved is not a secret anymore, so I can share this story with you. When I was at school, I had a friend, Percy Phelps. He was very smart. He was in a higher class even though we were the same age. Later, he went to a very good university. His uncle was Lord Holdhurst, a big politician, but it didn't help him at school. I am not proud to say that we used to tease him. Years later, I got a letter from him.
My dear Watson, I am sure you remember me, Tadpole Phelps. I got a good job in the Foreign Office through my uncle. But something very bad happened. I was very sick for 9 weeks. Can you bring Mr. Sherlock Holmes to see me? I really hope he can help. Please bring him soon. Every moment is very long for me. I was too sick before, but now I am a bit better. I am still weak, so someone else is writing this for me. Please bring him. Percy Phelps.
After reading Percy's letter, I felt very sad. It was like he was in a lot of pain, and he was asking for help again and again. I wanted to help him and felt it was the right thing to do. I rushed to Holmes immediately. He was deep in his experiments, mixing liquids in glass bottles.
Are you enjoying this story? Let us know by tapping the like button. Thank you.
Holmes, can you spare a moment? I asked gently, trying not to disturb his focus. He seemed so deep in thought, concentrating hard on his experiment. He had a strip of paper. He was dipping it in a liquid. It changed its color to red.
This is serious, Watson.
He muttered, his eyebrows furrowed in concern.
Someone could be in grave danger.
I handed him Percy's letter. He scanned it, his eyes narrowing.
This isn't Percy's handwriting. It's a woman's,
he declared, looking up at me. His eyes sparkled with a newfound interest.
Having a woman involved makes this case intriguing. Let's solve this puzzle and meet this mysterious woman.
Chapter 2. We got on an early train and soon reached Woking, a place with many trees and flowers. We went to a big house named Briarbury, near the train station. We entered a pretty room where a cheerful, plump man met us. He seemed older but had a childlike joy. He greeted us warmly. Given our serious visit, his friendliness was surprising.
Happy you are here. Percy has been waiting. He's in bad shape, grasping at hope.
We don't know the details yet.
Holmes noted.
You aren't family.
The man laughed.
You saw my initials on the name badge.
He replied.
I'm Joseph Harrison. Percy's marrying my sister, Annie. She's with him. He's been unwell for 2 months. Let's meet them now. Percy's eager.
We were led to a room filled with flowers and a man, Percy, looking weak. A lady was with him, ready to leave, but he stopped her.
How are you, Watson? Is this Sherlock Holmes?
I made the introductions and we sat. Joseph left, but the lady stayed, holding Percy's hand. She had dark hair and eyes, and her vibrant look made Percy appear even more fragile.
I don't want to take too much of your time,
He said, trying to sit up.
I was doing well, Mr. Holmes, but then, something terrible happened.
He had a high-level job and was given important tasks by his uncle, Lord Holdhurst. One day, he was given a very important document to copy, something top secret between England and Italy. It is vital, his uncle had said, that this stays secret. Lock it up when you're done and give it to me tomorrow. Holmes listened attentively and asked if they were alone and if they were speaking quietly during this conversation. Percy confirmed it. Percy continued his story.
Don't miss a single chapter of our extraordinary stories. Hit the subscribe button now.
He started copying the document after everyone left, but it was long and he couldn't finish it before needing to take a train. Feeling tired, he wanted coffee, so he rang for it. Mrs. Tangy answered, claiming to be the wife of the usual person who made coffee. After waiting and not getting his coffee, he went to check and found the man asleep, with the kettle boiling over. When Percy was going to wake him up, a bell rang. The man was confused, asking, "If you were here, who rang the bell?" It was the bell from Percy's workroom. Panic struck Percy. Someone might be in the room with the secret document. He raced upstairs, but found nobody, and the original document was missing. Holmes sat up, looking excited.
What did you do next?
He asked, clearly interested in the story. Phelps said he was sure the robber came from the side door, as there was no other way he could have come without Phelps seeing him.
No one could have been hiding. There's nowhere to hide.
He added.
Continue,
Said Holmes. The doorman, seeing Phelps looked worried, went with him to look outside. They didn't find anyone, but a policeman told them only an old woman had walked past. "That's my wife," said the doorman, trying to make Phelps look in a different place, but Phelps didn't believe him.
When did she walk by?
Phelps asked. "Not long ago," replied the policeman. However, the doorman insisted it was a waste of time and left quickly. Phelps followed him, asking where he lived in Ivy Lane. Despite his doubts, he and the policeman checked the busy street, finding nothing. Back inside, they didn't find any mud marks even though it was a rainy night.
Why didn't the woman who came in at 9 leave any mud?
Holmes asked. Phelps explained that cleaning ladies change into cleaner shoes inside.
What did you do next?
Asked Holmes. They also checked the room but didn't find any secret doors or signs of break-in. Phelps believed the robber came through the door.
Is there a fireplace?
Holmes asked.
No. Just a stove.
Replied Phelps, wondering why a robber would ring the bell, putting it a very strange mystery. Everyone was waiting quietly. Holmes finally spoke.
Did you look for any signs the visitor left?
There was nothing.
Phelps replied, shaking his head.
No smells? No unusual odors?
Holmes queried.
I never thought of smells. I don't smoke, so I would know if there was a tobacco smell.
Phelps stated. Holmes sighed.
The smell of tobacco could have been a great help.
They did remember Mrs. Tangy leaving quickly.
Why did she leave?
Phelps wondered. Her husband didn't know, saying it was her usual time to go home. They decided to find her quickly, thinking she might have important papers.
The police knew about the situation.
Phelps continued.
Detective Forbes was there fast. We were soon at Mrs. Tangy's house, where her daughter let us in.
Mrs. Tangy wasn't there. When she finally arrived, they heard her running inside the house. Forbes opened the door quickly, and they ran after her, finding her in the kitchen. She was surprised to see Mr. Phelps.
Why did you run away, Mrs. Tangy?
Asked Inspector Forbes. She nervously responded that she thought they were here for money she loaned. Forbes wasn't convinced.
We think you stole important papers and hid them. We need to search you.
She didn't want to go, but they took her to Scotland Yard. They searched for burnt papers in the kitchen but found nothing. At Scotland Yard, they waited, filled with worry, but no papers were found. Chapter 3. When Phelps spoke again, he looked so sad, it was hard not to feel sorry for him. Holmes looked eager but also a bit sorry for him. Holmes was clearly ready to solve this puzzle and prove that Phelps didn't do it. Phelps said,
Now, I felt really scared for the first time. Until now, I believed I'd get the papers back quickly. I didn't want to think about what would happen if I couldn't. I felt so bad. I thought about the embarrassment I caused to my uncle and others. I was ruined completely. I was so upset, and everyone tried to help me. Someone helped me get on the train to Woking. Dr. Ferrier, who knows me, was also there and looked after me. I was almost crazy by the time I got home. You can guess how shocked everyone was when they found out. Annie was so upset. Everyone knew I was really sick. I've been in bed for 9 weeks. If it wasn't for Miss Harrison and the doctor, I wouldn't be here talking to you. They took good care of me. Now I remember everything, and I wish I didn't. I asked Mr. Forbes if they found anything, but they hadn't. They even suspected the office clerk, but he left before I started working. I hope you can help me, Mr. Holmes. You're my last hope.
Phelps looked very tired after talking so much. His nurse gave him some medicine. Holmes was quiet, his eyes closed. To anyone else, Holmes might have seemed distracted, but I knew he was thinking hard.
Your explanation was very clear.
He spoke finally.
There are hardly any questions left. But one thing is crucial. Did you tell anyone you had this important task?
No one.
Not even Miss Harrison?
No, I hadn't been to Woking since I got the order.
Did any family or friends visit you? Did they know the office?
They didn't visit me, but they had been shown around.
But if you didn't talk about the treaty, these questions don't matter much.
I said nothing.
Thank you,
said Holmes.
I can get more details from Forbes. He is good at collecting information.
Suddenly, Holmes commented,
What a beautiful thing a rose is.
He walked to the window, examining a rose, showing a side I hadn't seen before, showing love for nature.
This rose is an extra, not a necessity of life. Its smell and color make life better. We find comfort in nature.
Phelps and Miss Harrison looked at Holmes, puzzled and a bit let down. Holmes seemed lost in thought with a rose in his hand. After a while, Miss Harrison broke the silence.
Do you see any hope, Mr. Holmes?
Oh, the mystery, he
replied.
It's complicated, but I'll think about it and let you know.
Do you see any clues?
You gave me 7. I have to check them first.
Then please go to London and see,
she urged.
Good idea, Miss Harrison,
said Holmes, getting up.
But keep your hopes realistic, Mr. Phelps. It's a tricky situation.
I'll wait for your visit,
said Phelps.
I'll come tomorrow, but I might not have news.
Thank you, It's comforting to know you are trying.
replied Percy.
Lord Holdhurst wrote to me.
What did he write?
He was formal but not unkind. Maybe my illness made him softer. He said it's serious, but no decisions about my position will be made until I'm better.
That's fair,
said Holmes.
Come, Watson, we have much to do in town.
Chapter 4. We headed back to London by train, accompanied by Mr. Joseph Harrison. Holmes was deep in thought, not speaking until well into our journey. His sudden question startled me.
Do you think Mr. Phelps drinks alcohol?
I don't think so.
Neither do I. We should consider every angle. He's in big trouble. Getting him out won't be easy. What's your opinion on Miss Harrison?
She seems strong.
Yes, she seems good. She and her brother are the only kids of the four Jonah. She got engaged to Phelps last winter and came here to meet his family, her brother coming with her. After the incident, they both stayed. I've been making inquiries.
I wasn't expecting to be with Holmes all day. I have my practice. I started.
If your cases are more interesting than mine,
Holmes interrupted, a bit sharply. I meant, my practice can manage without me for a day or two, I clarified.
great.
He smiled.
We'll investigate together. Let's start with Forbes. He can give us the details we need to proceed.
You mentioned a clue?
We have a few, but we need more information. Who would gain from this? The French, the Russians, someone selling to them, or even Lord Holdhurst?
Lord Holdhurst?
It's possible a politician might not mind the document being destroyed.
With his reputation? Surely not.
We can't overlook any possibility. We'll visit him today. Meanwhile, I've sent an ad to all evening papers in London.
He showed me a note offering a £10 reward for information about a cab dropped at the Foreign Office on the night of May 23rd. Are you sure the culprit used a cab?
If not, no harm. But if there are no hiding places and the culprit left no wet footprints on such a rainy night, then he probably used a cab.
That makes sense.
It's one of the clues. The bell ringing is also peculiar. Why did it ring? Was it the thief, someone with the thief, an accident, or?
Holmes fell silent, pondering anew. I knew his ways. A new idea had sparked in his mind. We arrived at our station at 20 minutes past 3. We quickly ate lunch and then went straight to Scotland Yard. Holmes had already sent a message to Forbes, who was waiting for us. He was small and didn't seem friendly. He wasn't happy when he learned why we had come.
Mr. Holmes, I know about your methods.
He said, sharply.
You take help from the police and then solve the case alone, making us look foolish.
Not true.
Holmes replied.
In most cases, I let the police take the credit. You should work with me, not against me, if you want to succeed.
The detective's tone softened.
Any advice would be helpful. I've not had success on this case.
Holmes asked him about his investigations on Tangy and his wife, who were suspects, but the police hadn't found anything. The wife had logical answers to all the questions, but she seemed to know more than she was saying. Holmes thanked Forbes for his information and assured him he would hear if Holmes found the criminal. We then went to meet Lord Holdhurst, who was a powerful man in the government. He received us politely in his big, beautiful office. He knew why we were visiting.
You will hear about the incident involving my nephew, Percy Phelps?
Yes,
Holmes replied. Lord Holdhurst seemed worried about his nephew.
This incident might ruin Percy's future.
but what if we find the document?
Holmes inquired.
That would change things.
The Lord replied.
Lord Holdhurst, did Percy show any unusual behavior before the incident?
Percy? No, he was his usual self, dedicated and dutiful.
If the document were leaked, could it create serious complications?
Absolutely. The consequences would be disastrous.
Have any of those complications occurred yet?
Thankfully, no.
So, if the thief hasn't sold it yet, what could he be waiting for?
Maybe a higher price or the right buyer.
Holmes figured the thief acted on impulse, not a well-thought-out plan. Lord Holdhurst was really worried about the document leaking. As we left, Lord Holdhurst wished us luck. Then he asked me to join him in working tomorrow. I said yes, and we went our separate ways. Chapter 5. The next day, Holmes and I went to working. Holmes told me he hadn't found new information on the case. I couldn't tell if he was upset or not because his face showed nothing. We spoke about something different on the way. We saw our friend Percy, who looked better. He stood up from his seat to say hello.
Is there any news?
Percy asked. Holmes replied.
Nothing new yet, but I've started some work that might help.
Percy looked hopeful.
So you still believe we can solve it?
Of course.
Holmes said. Miss Harrison said.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. We need to stay hopeful.
Percy and Miss Harrison still had hope. They shared that they had experienced something strange during the night. Percy felt he was the target of a big, scary plan. He felt his life and honor were at risk. Holmes listened carefully. Percy explained that the previous night, for the first time, he had slept without a nurse in the room. He woke up to a small noise and then a sharp metallic sound from the window. Someone was trying to open it. He was shocked, but Holmes seemed to expect this. Percy said that when he opened the shutters, he saw a man at the window. He only saw him for a moment before he ran away. The man had something that looked like a long knife. Holmes found this very interesting. Percy wanted to chase the man but wasn't strong enough. He alerted the house. They found some marks outside the window and on a wooden fence. Percy hadn't told the local police yet. He wanted Holmes's opinion first. Holmes got very excited and walked around the room. He wanted to walk around the house with Percy to understand why the burglar chose that room.
Can you show me outside?
He asked Percy. Percy nodded.
Yes, let's go. Joseph, come too.
Miss Harrison wanted to come, but Holmes said,
Please stay here.
She didn't seem happy but sat down. Outside, we saw the footprints. Holmes looked but didn't say much.
Why did the thief come to this window and not the big ones?
Holmes asked. Joseph said.
The big windows can be seen from the road.
Holmes noticed a door and asked about it. Joseph said it was for deliveries and was locked at night. Holmes looked around the house in a relaxed way, not like usual. He then asked Joseph to show where the thief climbed the fence. Joseph showed us where one of the fence's wooden parts was broken. Holmes studied a small piece of wood closely.
Is this from last night? It seems old.
Holmes questioned. Percy observed it.
Maybe.
Holmes noted no signs of someone landing on the other side of the fence and suggested we should go back inside. Percy was walking slowly, leaning on Joseph. Holmes quickly walked to the bedroom's open window. Inside, he urgently spoke to Miss Harrison.
Please, stay in this room today and don't tell anyone about it. Lock the door from outside when you go to bed and keep the key. It's important.
Miss Harrison was puzzled but agreed. When Joseph and Percy arrived, Holmes suggested to Percy,
Can you come to London with us? In an hour.
Percy agreed, hopeful for a resolution. He suggested Joseph might accompany him, but Holmes reassured him that I, being a medical man, could care for him. Miss Harrison stayed in the bedroom while we had lunch, as per Holmes's instruction. Then he surprised us by saying he wouldn't go to London yet. He had things to do and working. He asked me to take care of Percy in London.
I'll join you by breakfast.
He said.
I think I can find something here.
Percy asked.
What about our work in London?
We can do it tomorrow.
Holmes answered. As we left, Holmes waved goodbye. He had a plan, and we trusted him. Miss Harrison stayed in her room. Joseph stayed behind. Everyone did their part. Holmes looked around working, thinking hard, making connections. He was focused on solving Percy's mystery and finding the truth. Chapter 6. Phelps and I couldn't understand why Holmes changed his plans.
Maybe he's looking for hints about the break-in.
Phelps guessed.
I feel it wasn't a normal thief. I think there's a big bad plan around me. I think I'm in danger.
It sounds strange, I said, but if Holmes thinks the same, it explains his actions. Finding the person who scared you could help us find the missing paper. It's silly to think you have two enemies, one stealing and another scaring you.
But Holmes said he wasn't going to bribery.
I knew Holmes always had a good reason for his actions. We talked about other things, but Phelps was worried, always thinking about the lost paper and what Holmes was doing. Phelps, still getting better, was very worried.
Do you trust Holmes can solve it?
He asked. I've seen him do amazing things, I replied.
But has he ever solved something this important?
Yes. He solved harder cases, even for kings and queens, I said, trying to make him feel better. Phelps still didn't understand Holmes and wondered if he thought he could solve the case. I said that Holmes being quiet usually meant he was onto something but was still checking his thoughts. To relax, let's sleep and be ready for tomorrow, I suggested, but I knew Phelps was too worried to sleep. I also became worried and couldn't sleep, thinking about why Holmes did what he did. Why did he stay in working? Why did he tell Miss Harrison to stay in the room? Why didn't he tell the people at Briarbrae where he was? I thought of many reasons, each more unlikely, until I finally fell asleep, still without answers. I woke up at 7 a.m. and went to Phelps. He looked tired and hadn't slept. He asked if Holmes had arrived. He will arrive when he said he would, I reassured him. Soon a cab stopped at the door, and Holmes stepped out. He looked serious and had his hand bandaged.
Holmes looks upset,
commented Phelps. Maybe he found some clues here in the city, I suggested. Phelps was curious about Holmes's bandaged hand. When Holmes entered, he greeted us and said his wound was just a small cut. He said Phelps' case was very hard but promised to tell us more after breakfast. Mrs. Hudson brought in the food. Holmes was very hungry, but Phelps couldn't eat. He was too worried. Holmes noticed and said to Phelps,
Come on, Phelps, uncover the dish. Maybe you'll like what's inside.
I'm not hungry, Holmes.
Phelps replied hesitantly.
Just give it a try.
Insisted Holmes with a twinkle in his eye. Phelps finally uncovered the dish and to his surprise, he found the missing paper inside. He was so happy that he could hardly speak.
Holmes, you saved me.
He exclaimed with joy.
I like a bit of drama.
Holmes smiled and replied.
I also needed to solve this. I don't like to lose.
He continued, enjoying his breakfast, and explained he would tell us how he found the paper after he finished eating. We all sat, Phelps with relief and joy in his eyes, and I full of curiosity, waiting for Holmes to start his story about his adventurous journey to find the missing document. Holmes was ready to tell us what happened.
After I left you, I walked in the beautiful countryside and stayed in a small village until evening. Then, I went to working and reached Briarbrae after sunset.
But wasn't the gate open?
Phelps asked, surprised.
Yes, but I climbed the fence where no one from the house could see me and reached the bushes near your bedroom window. I saw Miss Harrison reading and then going to bed. She locked the door as I had told her. The night was long. I remembered a similar long night with Watson when we solved the speckled band case.
I shivered, remembering that frightening night. Holmes smiled and continued.
I heard the clock and, around 2 in the morning, heard a door open and saw Joseph.
Joseph.
Phelps cried out in shock. Holmes continued.
He had a coat over his shoulders to hide his face. He opened the shutters with a knife and lit candles inside the room. Then, he took out a piece of floorboard and retrieved a roll of paper from there.
Me and Phelps were in a suspenseful silence as Holmes detailed his encounter.
He tried to attack me with a knife, but I managed to get the papers from him. I let him go but informed Forbes.
Phelps was in shock.
So, the papers were in my room all this time? And Joseph, a criminal?
Yes,
Holmes nodded.
Joseph lost a lot of money and wanted to recover it. He is selfish, didn't care about his sister's happiness or your reputation.
Phelps, looking very surprised and upset, said.
I can't understand. It's all spinning in my head.
Holmes calmly started explaining.
In this case, there were lots of clues, making it hard to find the important ones. I started thinking it might be Joseph because he knew about your travel plans and knew the office well. I was even more certain when I found out someone tried to get into the bedroom when the nurse was away. It had to be Joseph.
Phelps, his face showing shame, said.
I couldn't see any of this.
I tried to make Phelps feel better. It's only clear now because Holmes has explained it to us, I said. Holmes explained.
It wasn't easy. We had to pick the important facts from many. Joseph, knowing the place well, swiftly entered your room the moment you left. He saw the important document and quickly hid it in his pocket. He escaped before anyone could notice. He went to Woking, hiding the document, planning to sell it to the highest bidder. Your unexpected return caught him off guard, but he saw his opportunity to retrieve it when you were alone. I knew he would try again, so I had Miss Harrison stay in the room to deceive him.
Why did Joseph go through the window and not just use the door? I asked. Holmes answered.
Using the door meant passing many rooms. The window was easier and quieter.
Phelps, looking anxious, questioned.
Did he want to hurt me or was the knife just a tool?
Holmes replied.
All I know is that Joseph isn't trustworthy.
After discussing everything and clearing up the case, we all felt a need for more coffee and asked Mrs. Hudson to bring some. The end. Had you enjoyed this story? Like and subscribe to our channel now to unlock fresh tales and level up your English skills.